Some games surprise you even without the spotlight, million-dollar trailers, or aggressive marketing. These are the AA titles that deliver soul, innovation, and moments you won't forget, even without costing a fortune. This list is about them. 21 games that many people missed but are worth their weight in gold. Whether through their stories, mechanics, or unique worlds, they all have something special. And if you ignore them, you'll likely regret it later. So take note of these names, because they deserve to be played. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. I bring you daily content so you never miss any details from the gaming universe. And if you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd be really happy from one gamer to another. Let's get started. Some games grab you by surprise, and Blacktail is exactly the kind of rare discovery. You play as a mystical figure in a dark tale where the forest, witchcraft, and moral choices intertwine in a strange and beautiful way. The visuals mix fairy tales with nightmares, and everything around you feels alive. Whispering fungi, watching trees, creatures that challenge your perception of what's right. It's not a light adventure, but it's impossible to look away. The core mechanic revolves around a bow and arrow, but with magical touches that make each fight feel like part of a ritual. You don't just fight, you shape the world, influence the narrative, and face consequences that change what lies ahead. Nothing is shallow. The forest reacts to your behavior, and the protagonist herself begins to transform based on your actions. It's a game of real choices disguised as a dark fable. It's a solitary journey, but never empty. Every corner of the map has a secret, a distorted memory, a strange challenge. And as you try to understand what's happening, you get immersed in that unique atmosphere, made of color, shadow, and silent tension. It's one of those games that doesn't shout. It whispers things you won't forget anytime soon. Flying is already amazing, but flying with purpose and fury changes everything. Chorus delivers a space campaign where the protagonist and her ship share a dark past and a power few understand. Nothing here is static. Space is open, dynamic, filled with colossal structures and enemies ready to test you in aerial combat that feels like deadly choreography. The story carries weight, guilt, and redemption, all wrapped in stunning visuals. The gameplay is where the game truly shines. The ship's movement is fluid and agile, with maneuvers that defy gravity and traditional logic. You don't just shoot, you dance between asteroids, teleport behind enemies, and dominate the field with absurd precision. Each new ability becomes a vital piece of the survival puzzle. It's frantic but elegant, and the feeling of control is addictive from start to finish. But don't be fooled by the fast pace. Deep down, Chorus is about reconciliation, about facing the ghosts of the past while crossing the stars. It's the kind of game that makes you look into the vast emptiness of space and feel like it's trying to tell you something. And in the middle of explosions and distant planets, there's a story that surprises with its silent strength. A hidden gem among the galaxies. Some games don't need rush, explosions, or endless dialogues to grab you. Jusant does it with nothing more than rope, stone, and silence. You climb a colossal tower, defying height, wind, and time, while the world around you reveals its mysteries without saying a word. Every wall is an untold story. Every lit match in a dark corner feels like a memory left behind. It's a game about climbing, but also about understanding. The climbing mechanic is the heart of the experience, and it's done with great attention to detail. The triggers respond to arm strength. The tension of the rope forces you to think about each move. It's not just climbing, it's planning, feeling, failing, and trying again. And all of this without dramatic music, without urgency. Just you, the wall, and the constant doubt of where everyone went. Jusant is minimalist, but carries a rare emotional density. The simple visuals reveal a raw, melancholic beauty, where every ruin has weight and every moment of light feels like a reward. There are no enemies, no bosses, just a vertical journey in search of answers, or maybe just peace. And when you stop to look at how far you've climbed, you realize this game told you a lot, even without saying anything. Most games inspired by famous franchises tend to fall into the obvious. Terminator Resistance does the opposite. It takes the post-apocalyptic universe dominated by machines and turns it into a constant tension-filled setting, but also one of humanity. It's not just about shooting Terminators, it's about surviving the fear of being hunted, talking to those who still resist, and trying to keep a sense of hope in a ruined world. And that alone makes it so much more interesting. The combat is direct, but it surprises. You start weak, with simple weapons, having to avoid direct confrontation. But slowly, you gain access to heavier equipment, hack systems, and face machines with more courage and more strategy. The setting hits the marked dark corridors, destroyed cities, alarms in the background, and the constant feeling that something is watching you. It's a game where the pace grows with you. But what really surprises is how much the game cares about the human faces amidst the war. The interactions are simple, but carry emotion, with little stories that make you want to protect more than just your character. Amidst the metal and destruction, there's space for choice, for compassion, and even for sacrifice. And that's what makes Terminator Resistance much more than a shooter with a well-known name. It has soul. Few games can turn fury into art. Metal Hellsinger not only does that, but makes you feel part of the spectacle. You wake up in hell, with an arsenal in hand, and a heavy soundtrack pushing you forward. But the trick isn't just in aiming and shooting. The real challenge is doing all of that to the rhythm of the music. Every shot, every dodge, every reload, synchronized with the beat, turns combat into an aggressive and hypnotic performance. The feeling of impact is absurd. When you hit the right flow, the entire world seems to respond. The soundtrack grows, the vocals come in tearing, and the game rewards you with more power, more damage, more brutality. The weapons have personality, some fast and sharp, others slow and crushing, all demanding rhythmic precision. The enemies don't stop coming, and the map becomes an arena where you don't survive just by force, but by harmony with the chaos. It's a different experience, made to be felt more than thought about. The game doesn't want you to shoot instinctively, but to listen, feel, and act as part of the music. Each level is a new act, each boss a catharsis in sound. And when it's over, it's not just adrenaline left. It's that strange silence after a show you didn't want to end. A hellish spectacle where you're the star, and the soundtrack is made of pure destruction. Some games captivate you with their visuals, while others challenge you in ways you can't forget. Trine 5 does both, and it does it in style. You control 3 characters, each with unique abilities, in a fantasy world that looks hand-painted. The beauty isn't just in the breathtaking settings, but in how each level is a living puzzle. Nothing is handed to you. You need to think, test, combine powers, and trust your reasoning. The character switching system is smooth and strategic. The wizard moves objects, the warrior faces enemies head-on, and the thief jumps, clings, and reaches impossible places. The levels require creativity, not brute force. And what's great is that there's no single solution. Each obstacle can be overcome in different ways, depending on your creativity. This gives the game a rare fluidity, where each player leaves their own mark. Even with all this visual lightness, Trine 5 doesn't underestimate anyone. The puzzles challenge you, the combat has weight, and the pace never slows. Playing solo is a delight, but with more people, the game takes on a new dimension, becoming a true cooperative adventure where communication makes all the difference. It's fantasy with brains and heart, the kind of game that makes you smile while your mind is racing to solve the next puzzle. At first glance, it seems like just another cute game with a friendly crab exploring the ocean floor. But Another Crab's Treasure goes much further. It takes the soul-crushing difficulty of Souls-like games and turns it into a chaotic, humorous, and surprisingly challenging dive. You wear cans, bottle caps, and scraps of garbage as armor, fighting bizarre sea creatures in an ocean full of dangers and secrets. It's weird, but it works surprisingly well. The gameplay demands attention, reflexes, and enemy study, just like any good technical combat game. But the difference lies in its light, mocking tone, which contrasts with the brutality of the fights. The progression system is creative, with improbable equipment and unique powers that emerge from the deepest, most absurd places. Every battle is a test, but also a well-told joke, and this mix keeps you hooked from start to finish. It's challenging, but never frustrating. What makes this game shine is how it turns a crazy concept into something full of personality. The ocean is beautiful, dangerous, unpredictable. The enemies are grotesque, yet charismatic. And the crab journey turns into a true adventure about survival, identity, and garbage in the best possible way. In the end, you're not just fighting with sharp claws, you're facing an entire ocean with courage and a bottle cap on your head. Few games manage to be both beautiful and brutal at the same time. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 takes place in a world where, every year, a mysterious entity chooses names of people who simply cease to exist. Your mission is simple in theory, but desperate in practice. Climb the Painter's Tower and put an end to the cycle. The atmosphere is heavy, artistic, almost poetic, with settings that look like they've come straight out of a surreal gallery, and a story that digs deep into the anguish of those who know time is running out. The turn-based combat is inspired, but not traditional. You don't just choose actions, you execute them with timing, dodging, rhythm, and strategy. It's a hybrid system that keeps you engaged all the time, as if each strike were a dance between precision and emotion. The abilities are stylized, the enemies strange, and the constant feeling is that you're facing something much bigger than yourself. It's immersive without being obvious, and that turns every encounter into a memorable event. But what really sticks is the weight of the journey. The group carries history, pain, doubt, and you feel it all in the dialogues, the pauses, the silence between the battles. It's not a typical RPG. It's a living painting that constantly asks what's worth fighting for, even when you know the end is inevitable. And as you climb another floor, it's not just progress. It's resistance. It's art in motion. Returning to a forgotten classic and seeing it reborn with care is rare. Outcast A New Beginning brings back one of the pioneers of open-world games, delivering something that respects the past without clinging to it. The alien planet is more than just a beautiful setting. It breathes, reacts, holds traditions, conflicts, and stories that you only understand if you stop, listen, and observe. Nothing is shoved in your face, but it's all there, waiting to be discovered. It's as if each step reveals something the world tried to hide for a long time. The game structure invites exploration without locking you into a fixed path. Villages, forests, ruins, and temples connect in a living ecosystem where your actions truly change what happens. Combat is modern, with dynamic shootouts and special abilities that allow you to resolve confrontations in various ways. But the best part is in between the battles, in the conversations, the decisions, the alliances you build. Nothing feels shallow or automatic. There's purpose even in the small encounters. The beauty of Outcast lies in the balance between action and contemplation. It doesn't rush you, it offers you time. Time to understand the culture of that world, to figure out why you're there, and to realize that your presence alters everything. It's a game that values the silence between gunfights and understands that good science fiction isn't just about the unknown. It's about feeling small in front of it, and still moving forward. Sometimes, terror doesn't come from obvious monsters or dark hallways, but from a peace that makes no sense. The Chant begins with a spiritual retreat on a remote island. Nature, meditation, tranquility, until everything goes wrong. A ritual fails, reality breaks down, and what was once an isolated paradise turns into an open field for cosmic madness. You're not a warrior. You're just someone trying to understand what happened, surrounded by entities that feed on fear. Combat exists, but it's not the focus. You use crystals, spiritual energy, and willpower to keep what shouldn't be there at bay. It's not about killing, it's about surviving. Managing mental, physical, and spiritual resources creates constant tension. Any imbalance can leave you vulnerable. The horror doesn't rush. It grows slowly, distorts reality, and whispers that you're alone, even when you're not. The environment is the true enemy. The island transforms before your eyes, as if it's alive, as if it's part of the ritual. Every corner holds visions, memories, ancient nightmares that start invading the present. What's most fascinating is how everything is laden with symbolism. The characters, the monsters, the spaces. The Chant doesn't just scare. It provokes, disturbs, and leaves you thinking long after it ends. Mars has always been the symbol of the unknown, the ultimate challenge. But in Deliver Us Mars, the red planet carries something more, a sense of urgency, of a personal mission, of one last chance. You're not there out of curiosity. You're there to recover what's left of humanity before it's too late. The barren surface, the absolute silence, and the distance between you and Earth create a feeling of isolation that grows with every step. It's not just about technology. It's about responsibility. The gameplay blends exploration, puzzles, and a narrative that pieces itself together like a memory being rebuilt. You scale ancient structures, pilot ships, hack systems, and all the while, you feel there's something emotional behind each action. The protagonist isn't alone just physically. She carries a family burden, an emotional weight that becomes more evident as the story unfolds. Everything feels simple in form, yet profound in impact. What makes the game special is the balance between the epic and the intimate. Mars is vast, cold, imposing, but inside the helmet, there are doubts, pains, and questions that no one else can answer for you. There's no rush, no gunfire. It's just you, an entire planet, and the shadow of past decisions trying to reach the present. It's science fiction with soul, one of those games that speaks more in silence than in any cutscene. Everything starts with a mysterious tunnel in a city lost in time. The Forgotten City traps you before you even understand where you are. With an audacious premise, solve a mystery in a place where committing a single sin condemns everyone. The game revolves around the idea of morality, consequence, and cycle. Everything is connected. You wake up in ancient Rome, surrounded by statues that seem alive and people hiding more than they reveal. And every decision could be the end of everything. The structure is built around time loops, and each repetition isn't punishment. It's the key. You learn, test, try new approaches, and uncover truths buried in well-told lies. The conversations are dense, intelligent, and require attention. Nothing here is superficial. The game challenges you to listen, understand, interpret, and act strategically. There's no traditional combat, but the danger is constant, disguised as politeness and ancient secrets. It's a game that trusts the intelligence of the player, and that alone makes it rare. It doesn't hold your hand, but it doesn't abandon you either. It gives you tools, questions, and time. The answer, you build it. The atmosphere is heavy, as if the world itself knows that something is about to crumble. And when the cycle finally breaks, it's not just a victory. It's the closing of a story you helped rewrite. Not every journey has to start with war or tragedy. Some begin with a hammer in hand and dust on your face. My time at Sandrock places you as the new builder in a city forgotten in the middle of the desert. The task seems simple: repair, build, help. But soon, you realize there's much more beneath the surface. Each inhabitant has a story, a routine, secrets, and the city, slowly, begins to change with your presence. Not by force, but by care. The gameplay blends life simulation with crafting, exploration, and even light combat. You gather resources, build structures, decorate your space, and form relationships with the locals. Time passes, events unfold, and you feel like you're part of something that's growing. The rhythm is calm, but it's not stagnant. There's always something to do, repair, or talk about. And every small improvement in the village feels like a firm step toward rebuilding a place that had been forgotten. What wins you over is the balance between simplicity and depth. The colorful aesthetic hides a sensitive narrative, full of emotional moments, real dilemmas, and bonds that form slowly. It's not a game about saving the world, but about being part of one that needs you as much as you begin to need it. And when the town starts to flourish amidst the sand, you feel like every minute spent was worth it. Some stories have no heroes, only tough choices. Banishers' Ghosts of New Eden puts you in the shoes of spirit hunters, sent to rid a colony of hauntings, until a personal tragedy changes everything. What starts as a mission becomes a deep moral dilemma: free the dead, or keep them close at any cost. The setting is cold, oppressive, yet full of beauty in its details. A world where life and death walk side by side, and you walk right in the middle of it. The gameplay balances direct combat with investigation and dialogue moments. You switch between two characters, one physical, the other spectral, each with unique abilities. This dynamic swap creates an engaging tactical system, both in battle and narrative decisions. Each spirit banished, each case solved, weighs more than it seems. And as you delve deeper, you realize that not every ghost wants to leave, and not every living soul deserves to stay. It's a game that speaks of loss with respect, without melodrama. Every choice brings you closer or further from what you really want, even if you're not sure what that is. Love, duty, and grief intertwine in a narrative that offers no easy answers, only consequences. And when the end draws near, the game doesn't ask what you gained. It shows you what you left behind. And that in itself says a lot. Imagine a Western where the true danger isn't the outlaws, but creatures straight out of nightmares. Evil West blends classic gunfights with supernatural monsters, creating an explosive mix of brutal action and dark atmosphere. You are a hunter, part of a secret organization, clearing cities corrupted by horrors that walk in the shadows. But here, the solution isn't subtle. It's fistfights, gunshots, and pure electricity. And the pace is straightforward: No nonsense. The gameplay is heavy and satisfying. Every punch has impact, every shot tears through, and the combinations between firearms and melee attacks make combat intense and cinematic. The arsenal is varied, with equipment that evolves and abilities that expand your playstyle. You don't hide, you move forward. The game encourages you to face, dominate, and be the predator even in the middle of darkness. Despite the focus on action, Evil West builds an interesting world. The decaying cities, the swamps filled with rot, the abandoned labs. Everything carries that feeling of a country taken over by something that should never have been awakened. It's exaggerated, grimy, stylish. And when everything explodes into chaotic combat against hordes of enemies, you get it. This is pure adrenaline from start to finish. Amidst the decay of the plague and the horrors of the Inquisition, a story of siblings trying to survive in a world that has already given up hope emerges. A Plague Tale: Innocence isn't about heroes. It's about two young people trying to make their way through the darkness with nothing but courage and unbreakable bonds. Medieval France is portrayed with a grim beauty, where every abandoned village, every silent field, and every shadow hides something worse than death. And the threat comes from all sides. The gameplay is built around stealth, strategy, and tension. Amicia, the older sister, must protect Hugo as they navigate cities and fields swarming with brutal soldiers and rats. Thousands of rats. The plague is almost alive, responding to light and sound, and you learn to manipulate it to clear paths or eliminate enemies. Direct combat is rare. Surviving depends more on your wits than strength. And this only heightens the tension. What stands out is the bond between the two protagonists. The game nails the pauses, the silences, the glances that say more than words. It's a sensitive, heavy narrative, but never hollow. You feel every loss, every small victory as a sigh of relief. And when everything seems on the verge of collapsing, what holds the story together isn't the setting or the villains. It's the love between two siblings amidst the world's collapse. It rains always. The water floods the streets, invades homes, consumes the city. The sinking city places you in Oakmont, a forgotten place devoured by something much older and stranger. You're a detective, but soon realize that this case cannot be solved with logic. There's something rotten in the air, something in the eyes of the people, something deep in the ocean that starts to mess with your mind. And every step forward could be a point of no return. The focus is on investigation. You gather clues, create connection boards, choose conclusions, and face the consequences of your deductions. There are no right answers, only versions of a truth distorted by delirium and despair. Combat exists, but it's raw, uncomfortable, as if the game itself wants you to avoid using weapons. Because the real horror doesn't come from the monsters attacking. It comes from the visions, the whispers, the memories that refuse to stop repeating. It's pure Lovecraft, but with the freedom to explore a city that seems to be sinking under a weight of guilt. The abandoned buildings, the fractured conversations, the apathetic inhabitants, all scream that something is wrong, even when no one says a word. And the deeper you go, the less sure you are of who you are. In Oakmont, there's no going back home. You're left to understand if what you discovered is worth the sanity you left behind. Forget everything you expect from a strategy game. Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew takes the tactical stealth genre and covers it with rum, magic, curses, and a crew that's already dead, but keeps on fighting. You command a group of ghost pirates, each with unique abilities, on daring missions that require precision, creativity, and above all, patience. The map is a living board, filled with patrols, traps, and opportunities hiding in plain sight. The thrill lies in creating the perfect plan. You pause time, analyze patterns, move in the shadows, and trigger actions in sequence like a choreographed show. Each character contributes an essential piece: distractions, teleportation, possession, explosives. And when everything falls into place, the result is almost hypnotic. It's pure strategy, but with a cursed twist that makes it more fun and less predictable. The charm of the game is in its unlikely mix of rigid tactics and wild setting. The tropical islands are beautiful, but filled with magical decay. The story is light, yet full of personality, and the crew comes to life with sharp dialogue and unexpectedly emotional moments. It's the kind of game that challenges your brain, but also makes you smile between perfect executions. A rare, intelligent gem disguised as a pirate adventure. Warsaw, 1905. A world divided between reason and invisible forces, where the supernatural isn't a myth, it's part of daily life. The Thaumaturge places you in this strange and fascinating setting, in the role of a man with the gift to see beyond what others can. He summons spiritual creatures, the Saluters, to confront not just enemies, but traumas, addictions, and truths hidden in the people around him. The city breathes political tension, decay, and magic all at once. Combat combines turn-based mechanics with emotional manipulation. You don't win with strength alone, but by influencing decisions, changing behaviors, and invading the psyches of your adversaries. Moral choices weigh heavily. Conversations require interpretation, and consequences arrive sooner or later. The Saluters have their own personalities and powers, and deciding which to use, or when to use them, can change the entire course of a mission. Nothing is mechanical. Everything carries weight. More than a supernatural tale, the Thaumaturge is a journey about identity, guilt, and legacy. It's about a man who sees too much and must deal with what others pretend not to see. The dark aesthetics, the detailed settings, and the almost literary tone create a dense, original atmosphere. An RPG that doesn't fit the common formulas, and precisely for that reason, deserves full attention. It doesn't shout, but it follows you long after it ends. There's a special beauty in games that balance lightness and pain so naturally. Kena Bridge of Spirits may seem, at first glance, like a children's tale, vibrant forest, cute little creatures, bright colors. But behind this charming aesthetic lies a story of loss, acceptance, and the bonds that tie us to the past. Kena is a spirit guide, tasked with helping souls trapped between two worlds. And on this journey, you'll discover that not every spirit wants to be saved. The combat is fluid, with a light action rhythm, but demanding. The protagonist uses a staff, bows, and spiritual powers to face creatures corrupted by pain and rage. The small rot, who accompany you like a mystical, cute army, help with puzzles and assist in battles. Everything is crafted with precision: the settings, the challenges, the emotional journey that accompanies every moment. It's a game that respects every second of your time. What stands out in Kena is its heart. It doesn't shout, it doesn't force drama, but it moves you. The encounters with spirits, the stories you unravel, the fragments of sadness hidden in the details, everything forms a true connection. When it ends, you don't just feel like you've finished a game, but like you've lived something. And amidst all the digital chaos, this calm with soul is pure gold. The world of Enshrouded was once beautiful. Now, it's shrouded in a dense mist that consumes everything. You awaken as the last ember of a forgotten empire, in a continent shattered by corruption and despair. The goal is clear: rebuild, explore, and resist the living mist that devours everything around you. It's a survival game, yes, but also one of ambition, where every step outside the safety zone is a calculated risk. And each breakthrough feels like a hard-earned, tense victory. Freedom of movement is one of the standout features. You climb mountains, leap from cliffs, dig tunnels, and build from scratch, with tools that respond directly to your creativity. The ruins hide secrets, but also dangers, and the mist shows no mercy to the unprepared adventurer. RPG mechanics, combat, and crafting intertwine fluidly, with a strong emphasis on constant evolution. There are no preset formulas. You chart your own path. What sets Enshrouded apart is the mix of immersion and discovery. It's the kind of game that doesn't need to guide you, it just needs to set you free. The landscape is melancholic and harsh, but full of possibilities. You're not just there to survive, but to understand what's left of a world that used to be grand. And when everything around you seems gray, each small victory shines like gold buried in the dust. And let me know which of these games you've had the chance to play. Did any of them spark your curiosity and make their way onto your upcoming game list? We'd love to hear which one caught your eye. Feel free to share in the comments a game that could have fit into the list but didn't make the cut. If you can, subscribe to the channel to help me grow and never have to wonder what to play again. I've left 2 videos in the card, one I picked just for you and another that YouTube selected. Simply click on either to watch. Big hug, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow.